All right, good afternoon to the citizens of St. Bernard Parish. Today is Monday, March 30th, and it's today's update that I want to talk to the citizens of St. Bernard Parish about. The first thing, let me say that parish government continues to do what we do every day, provide minimal essential services to the citizens of St. Bernard Parish, and I want to thank our employees at parish government for continuing to do that. It seems like we're going to be in this mode for a long time, so I appreciate their diligence, I appreciate their hard work, and the citizens of St. Bernard Parish are better and safer for that. I do want to say that, you know, these updates, we really don't have much to say after today, and we're going to do some updates when they are necessary going forward. The numbers are what they are. Today, we stand at 53 cases and 2 deaths here in St. Bernard Parish. Our thoughts, our prayers go out to the families of those individuals. We know that they are going through trying times right now. So all of the citizens of St. Bernard Parish are praying for them and for all of our positive tests patients here in St. Bernard Parish. Our hospital, we currently have 14 patients on ventilators. We have an additional 3 ventilators waiting. We have about 20 rooms available at this time at our hospital. So as far as maxing out at our hospital, we seem to be doing okay right now as these numbers start increasing. But from what we understand, in the next week or so, that's going to get to its limits. So it takes more staff to handle patients on ventilators and critical care. So staffing is a problem at our hospital. We again ask anyone out there with the expertise to be a healthcare provider at our hospital, reach out. We are now hiring at our hospital. Talked to Kim Keene a while ago. Our healthcare workers are troopers. They are the real heroes in all of this, and we really appreciate their efforts and what they're going through over at the hospital. We can't say enough to support them. Actually, our citizens here in St. Bernard Parish are so supportive of our healthcare workers. Kim Keene, our director, actually has to find a way to nicely tell people to not bring food to the hospital. You know, people are so giving, and you know, I had somebody call me today, want to do a crawfish ball for all of the workers, where they could come out individually and pick up their trays and all. But for right now, we're not in that mode at the hospital. There's a lot of things going on. And actually, please call them first before you want to outreach to the hospital and give of certain things to our hospital. So I wanted to make sure I got that message out. Another thing I want to talk about is that there's a lot of talk about our health system and where it's going to be in the next week or so. The numbers are continuing to climb. And the apex here in the New Orleans metropolitan area is estimated to be somewhere around April 8th. So if our hospital maxes out here in St. Bernard Parish, which, by the way, is the reason why we're asking people to stay home. It's not so much how many people get infected, it's how many people get infected at one time, which will overrun the healthcare system, which the healthcare system cannot provide services to everyone else who needs emergency services other than this COVID-19. So that's the real problem that we're trying to avoid. The hospitals being built in the city of New Orleans is not just for the city of New Orleans. It's for Region 1, of which St. Bernard is a part. So when you see the hospitals, beds going up at the convention center and holding areas for patients, our hospital will be able to transfer patients to that system. So I don't think that there's a need right now to be using space in, let's say, the Val Reese Center for that type of effort. But if it does get to that, I've been assured by the governor's office that we will be building temporary hospitals here in St. Bernard Parish. But for right now, they believe what's going on in the city, in our region, St. Bernard will be okay with the numbers that they're seeing and that they're estimating. I want to talk about a lot of things that the president's been talking about and our governor. We all know that the president extended the social distancing guidelines through April 30th. So that's another 30 days of the social distancing. Right now, we're under an executive order through April 13th, I believe it is. I fully anticipate that being extended. And I want to talk about what is essential and what is not. And the first thing I'm going to say is it's not that simple. So many things are happening all over our community, and people have questions. So what goes through our mind is different people have different ideas of what's essential. But we know what's essential for our community is that every single one of us have a personal responsibility to not spread this virus. That goes for businesses as well as the regular citizenry. It goes from groceries to restaurants to any other business, hardware stores, any other businesses throughout our community. So there are certain businesses in the executive order that it's impossible to adhere to the CDC guidelines. Barbershops, nail salons, massage parlors. Those type of interactions between customer and an owner of a business, it's impossible. So those businesses are closed and shut down. What we're asking our businesses is that if you cannot operate and adhere to the CDC guidelines, to please close your business. We have so many people in our community that are relying on each other, and we want you to be a part of that. So we're going to be going around the parish and talking with business owners and examining what's going on your premises. And we're going to be looking for everyone, including people who work at a business, to be 6 feet apart. We're going to be asking that no more than 10 people gather in one place. And yes, that includes outdoors. We're going to be asking that there are sanitizers for going in your business and leaving your business. We're going to ask that you and your employees sanitize your hands, make sure we don't touch our eyes, nose, and mouth. It's very difficult for me, but we have to do these type of things to flatten that curve and to come out on the other end of this thing with a solid community to bring back our economies. So we're getting so many calls about specific businesses and that they're open. We send the sheriff's department out to every call that we get. Just know that if a business is open and that we have received a complaint, we went out there and checked that business. If it's one employee and they're dealing with one customer at a time or so, then they are following the CDC guidelines. It may not be considered essential to you and me, but it might be essential to that owner and to that customer. So there are a lot of things that are actually considered essential that I've gotten letters from attorneys and letters from state agencies that I could sit here today and tell you that I don't think they're essential. So we have to live with what we have to deal with. So for businesses, If they cannot operate and adhere to the CDC guidelines, we're going to ask them to close their business. For citizens in general, we all seen, and it's been documented, it's been in the media, about the second lining in New Orleans. We tend to talk about that, and we get disgusted when we see it, and when the police show up, they don't disband, and it's disrespectful, and it's selfish because of this pandemic that's going on. God forbid anyone associated with that party, or any other party for that matter, someone close to them gets this disease. This COVID-19 attacks the lungs. That's why so many people are at the hospital on a ventilator. Right? So this is some really important stuff. 41% of the deaths, people have diabetes. And I know in St. Bernard Parish we have a lot of people with diabetes. This is a serious thing that we're dealing with, and we have to act like it. We have our own people in St. Bernard Parish that want to gather in more than 10 and have parties. So the second line in New Orleans, it's going on in St. Bernard too. Why should we send our deputies into that environment and risk themselves and their families of getting the virus? We want to have parties in our backyard with way more than 10 people, and we just can't put off that special party or that special moment in our families' lives. And like I said earlier, God forbid someone associated with that party get the virus. So that is specific in this order. So what's going to happen is we're going to pay a visit. I have asked our sheriff and our deputies to pay a visit when we get calls complaining about those things. And we're going to politely ask you to disband the party, and they're going to leave. And if the party is not disbanded, we're going to know about it. And as soon as all of this is over, as soon as everything calms down, you're going to get charged with violating the law. You're going to be arrested, you're going to be processed, and you're going to have to go in front of a judge and let them know why it was so important for you to have that party. Now, if the party disbands, everything is good. Respectful, not be selfish, understand what's going on in our community. You might have never heard the message. Then everything will be okay. But I can tell you that my ask of the sheriff and of the judicial system is to go back when all of this is over and charge the individuals responsible for having these large gatherings. So that's what I have to say about that. We've getting a lot of calls on church activities and having mass. People are seeing a lot of cars lined up and parked outside of places of worship. What's happening at a lot of our places is people are pulling up in their cars and they're having services without getting out of their cars. Now, it may be happening inside some of the places, but I can assure you that we drive around and we make sure that the services are being handled outdoors, if you will, with cars in the parking lot. So we've dealt with that. A lot of our pastors have called us and asked us if that's okay. And we don't have a problem with that because you can practice social distancing if you stay in your car. We also have food distribution at some of our local churches and places of worship. That is okay, but you still have to practice social distancing. People cannot get out of their car, get in line right next to each other to receive food. They got to pull up in their car. The people handing the food have to have a mask on, a shield or a mask, the proper gloves, right? So we're asking people, again, to just practice those things that are in the CDC guidelines. We said a lot. But this is so important that we become a team. And it's not just a team here in St. Bernard Parish. You know, we go back and forth to, well, we just, man, open it up. Or shut the parish down at the lines, right? Well, it's impossible to open it up when we're getting information, and if you saw the president's press conference yesterday, you know, if nothing was done, nothing, think about it, 1.6 to 2.2 million people will die, right? So what does the president do? He does the right thing. Lives are the most important thing in this. The economy will come back, right? So we have to play our part. It's the whole country. You know, he said, Nebraska, Idaho, they don't have, some of those communities don't have any cases. Well, guess what? They are doing the same thing we're doing. Because we can't let one little crack in this fight to open up, because it's just going to come back again. It's the same thing in the metropolitan area here, right? You know, you shut down the parish line, what do? You got to allow healthcare workers to cross. You got to allow food suppliers to supply our grocery stores. Hardware stores, you got to supply them. So those things are going on. If people are out there not adhering to the guidelines, it is your responsibility to not get infected. Think about that for a second. If you do what you're supposed to do, then you won't get infected. Stay 10 feet from people. Make sure you wash your hands every day for 20 seconds with soap to disinfect it. Don't touch your eyes, your nose, your mouth. That is so difficult for me, but I'm trying. You know why? Because it's important that we do those things. I have some crazy analogies sometimes, but let me give you this one. This situation is kind of like each individual in the community is driving while intoxicated or driving under the influence. And we can go out there and hurt somebody, right? But on the other end of that spectrum, I have personal responsibility for myself and for my family to make sure that we aren't affected by those people. And we can, right? So there are things that we can do to protect ourselves and our families, irregardless of who's out there carrying this disease and being selfish and being irresponsible. So the more people that we have that have a personal accountability and responsibility to themselves and their family, the closer we're going to get to the end of this thing, the more we will spread it out, and the more people we can actually cure of this disease in a short period of time. Right now, with the data that they're getting, that somewhere between 100 and 200,000 people are going to die. 100 and 200,000 people are going to die in a country, in our country. And right now we are at 2,500 or so. We got another 100,000 people who are going to die, right? So we have to make sure that we're doing everything that we can do and do what we can as a team with our partners, with the parishes that are around us. And hopefully we will come out at the end of this thing stronger than ever before. And we got another 30 days, it looks like, that we're going to have to find a way to learn how to live an easier life, right? Learn how to connect with people in our family in a different way. That might be a good thing. So I rambled on a lot today. I don't think we're going to do an update unless we have something important to bring to the citizens of St. Bernard Parish. We have to do our part. You have to do your part. This is a serious thing. And we cannot run around and chasing people around the parish to do the right thing. God bless and be safe.